Okay, well, welcome back, everyone, after our little 2 week break. And excited to continue with Malila. And she does, I think hopefully everyone has the texts. I'll put it back in the chat. If you don't have them, you might go on to a new text sheet today, but we'll see. And I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm just gonna hand it over to Malila again.
Okay. Um, Welcome everybody. Oh, there's Daria. Um, I'm very happy that we can study because it's gonna take me away from the fact that an hour and a half ago I had a surgical extract of a tooth. So if I'll be saying things that are totally from another zone, just remember that it's because of all the drugs that they gave me. But I think I'll be okay. Um, and I'm sure it's gonna take away at least a sixth of the pain. Studying Torah does that. So I thought that it would be good if I just kind of did a recap of what we did because it was 2 weeks ago and that was 3 billion years, and the dramas that our world is in at the moment. God knows what's going to happen till next week. Um, so um, last week. This is also for people that might not have been there, but I mean, 2 weeks ago, um, we started by reading a piece of Zohar, actually. We didn't start with Torah, we started with something from a different time frame, and I'll speak about that in a moment. Um, but we started with a teaching that is very wonderful and that actually suits very much the fact that tomorrow is Tu B'Shvat, Rosh Chodesh. Tomorrow is the beginning of the month of Shvat, and Tu B'Shvat is all about trees. Yesterday, I saw the first blooming of the almond trees in my hike that I took early in the morning, which was kind of amazing. I'm sure it's not doing that where you're at. It's too cold, but we looked at a teaching that speaks about the way we engage with Torah um, through this wonderful image that the Zohar loves so much, which is the image of the tree. Okay? I mean, there's a tree of the Sfirot, there's a tree. But the piece that we read was saying that Torah is such a multifaceted dimension. This great tree that's in our midst. Right? We say when we read Torah, when we finish reading Torah, we say, Chaye olam nata betochenu, you have planted within us, you know, timeless life, which is that tree. It's that tree, and the tree is the Torah, and the Torah is that tree. And and I think there's something wonderful about the fact that it's a teaching that says people connect to all kinds of aspects. They love the origins or the roots. They love leaves. They love the beauty. It can be an aesthetic. They're connected to just the beauty of the grandness of the tree. It can be about the trunk, and it can be about the big branches, and it can be about where they intersect and where they connect and where they branch off. I mean, it's like a whole language that they bring in around trees, which I think is very beautiful and also has to do with the fact that that's the way the Zohar loves teaching. It teaches through images that really speak to our heart and to our imagination. Then, after we did that, and we spoke about our different connections to trees, real trees, and also to trees of Torah, we moved to read the verses. Um, in Torah, in Numbers, in chapter 8, about God telling Moses how to light the candelabrum, the menorah, right? What is the way? בהעלותך את הנרות אל מול פני המנורה יאירו הנרות. We're going to speak about that today, that when you light the candelabrum, the different, okay, the different, there's the lampstand, and we said that the lights are gonna be lit towards the center piece of um of the menorah, which is, and we spoke about that, that is what is strictly called the menorah. The menorah is the center axis, and the kanim, the arms that have in them the oil lamps, right? They are lit towards the center piece, which is going to get many interpretations that we're going to read, and it says there that Aaron did what God told Moses to tell him. Okay, that's what we read in Torah, and we even had time to jump to the next kind of layer of of um, of learning, which I hope you all get a chance to do in learning Torah, which is to go beyond the literal meaning of the text, right? Where we're trying to understand, what is the menorah? What are the lights? What does it mean to face the lampstand? Trying to understand just the narrative level, which we call in Hebrew pshat, right? Pshat, meaning the simple meaning, the meaning that we see when we look at a verse. And we started in our last session to look at the next level, which is midrash. Midrash, and we spoke about short midrash from Bamidbar Rabbah, from Numbers Rabbah, which is um, a compendium of midrashim around the verses of the book of Numbers, okay, the book of Bamidbar. And when I say that it's a totally different layer, kind of geological, intellectual, historical layer, we're first of all speaking of something that's happening in a totally different time. This is not biblical, right? We're talking about midrash, so we're talking about things written between the 2nd century BC to say the 7th century CE. That's a lot of time, right? That's almost 1,000 years of very, 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 very intense Jewish creativity around the need of people, just like maybe you have that need to find a way to say things that are relevant to your world right now, but to find a way to say them through a conversation with Torah. Okay, maybe I'll say that again because, even if you don't remember anything, that would be a nice thing to remember. But I would say that the project of rabbinics, of the sages from the 2nd century, from before the destruction of the temple, and I think through the ages, is a very big question, which I'm sure is relevant for us, all of us, which is, can we keep Torah alive for us? How? How do we do that? How do we keep Torah alive, right? Here's a very ancient text. It's talking about a world we don't live in. It has parts that are pretty horrific to our sensibilities. It has stories of very yonder, very archaic stories of, tribes and worlds. And it has a lot of laws, it has a lot of commandments. And I think the question that the rabbis are asking, I mean, this is the quest, and it's going to continue being the quest of the philosophers, it's going to continue being the quest of the mystics, It's going to continue being the quest of the great scholars. It's going to be, in the Enlightenment period, in the Reform movement, in the conservative, and everybody's trying to figure out, can Torah be something alive? Which I think, we have to take like 30 seconds for each person here, hand on their heart, like, is Torah alive for us? Is it alive for us in some kind of way, and in what kind of way? And I think we'll relate to that, and I mean, at some point. But um, the the desire that Torah won't become obsolete, and that it won't be just people quoting verbatim ancient verses, which is also beautiful. I mean, I'm not against that. That's a big national project, okay? That's a grand Jewish project. And I think Midrash was a most creative moment here to say, if we can speak about what is really concerning us now in our present moment, okay? Um, and we want to connect it. How can I talk to it when it's connected to the verses of Torah? That's a way that Torah is going to stay alive, because every new thing, every important thing that a Jewish person wishes to say, it can be very radical, it can be very aesthetic, it can be about social issues, it can be about, okay, it can be mystical, whatever people want to say, we're going to say it using words of Torah. So, like, the ancient words are going to be there, and we're going to be playing with them so that they yield new ideas and thoughts. And I really believe, I mean, in all the years that I've been studying, and I hope I have many more, that really Midrash is the most creative language extant, and I was very happy that we can say something about it last time. Um, and let's and before we go into the Midrash itself, or maybe I'll just summarize this short Midrash that we did last time. It's a very thickly theological Midrash, and let's look at it for a moment. The English is on page number 3. Right? It says, a person flesh and blood, towards the front of the candelabrum, a person flesh and blood kindles from a kindled lamp. Could one perhaps kindle from darkness? Yeah. In the story of creation, it's stated, darkness upon the face of the deep. And what is written afterwards in the first chapter of Torah? God said, let there be light. Okay? God said, from the darkness I produced light. Do I need your light? Okay? Do I need your light, the light of human beings? Very good question. And I said it to you only to elevate you. God is saying to human beings, the candelabrum is not for me. I do not need the light of the oil and the fire and the candelabrum. It is to elevate you, right? To kindle a lamp continuously, right? To keep a ner tamid, to keep that lamp that we have. In our synagogues, we have a lamp above the nachon, above the aron, above where the Torah is, where the Torah sit. Um, we have a candle. In many, I suppose, in most of your synagogues, it's electronic, but it stands as a symbol for the idea that we have to keep a certain light in a sacred sanctuary or in a sacred place. We have to have a candle, and the candle has to be lit all the time. And that's also going to be read spiritually throughout, I mean, Jewish literature, um, but God is saying to human beings, um, make no mistake, right? This is, of course, an imaginative. This is what I love about Midrash. Midrash, the person who wrote this, is writing an imaginative dialogue, okay? An imaginative dialogue between people and God, okay? And the question is, why do we have a candelabrum? Why do we need that? Why does God need that? You know, which is the same as all the questions about the sacrifices. Does God eat? Does God drink? You know what all the libations and it is what is this about the sanctuary, right? The tabernacle. Why is it that we have the candelabrum? So you can see that people here do not wish to say, what do you mean? Of course, the divine divinity that resides in the tabernacle needs light, just like we need light. So just to kind of expand everybody's minds, the person who wrote the Midrash is already taking us into that question. Really? Really, God that fills the whole world needs a tent, needs light. And then the answer through this dialogue that the person who wrote this or composed this comes up with is to say there's a huge difference between divinity and humanity. God brings light not from another existing light. God is about creating light from darkness and not kindling from an existing fire. Okay, fire, by the way, fire doesn't appear in the first chapter of Genesis. Okay, fire seems to be, at least according to Midrash, something which is a human, it's a human brilliant moment of realization that is, according to Midrash, is given as a counseling or as a suggestion from God to humanity. I don't know if you know that Midrash, everybody knows it from Havdalah, but not everybody knows it. But fire is something, right? Striking two stones and creating a spark that can create fire is a huge human invention. And the question is, what's the relationship between that light that we can create for us and the light of the divine? So let me just backtrack on that for a moment because I would like us to be on the same page about fire. But you know, like in Greek mythology, does anybody remember where fire comes from? Right? Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it comes from the gods in Greek mythology.
yeah. And how does it get to us?
Prometheus.
Right? It's an amazing story, right? Fire is divine, and Prometheus steals the fire, and that's how we get the fire, right? Because there's a wonderful mythic question. Where does the fire, how did we get to that? How did we get to, without fire, we wouldn't have survived, right? I mean, we have fire so that we can keep warm in the cold, so we can transform raw food into cooked food, right? We can make vessels. I mean, we need fire. We need, and to light up the darkness in dark places. נכון? Like fire, so important. So um, I would just like to say that in Midrash, there's a beautiful Midrash. And it's also a kind of tale that says that when Adam and Eve were shown the way out of the garden, right? Out. when we were expelled from the garden, or when the garden stopped existing for us, um, that darkness, when darkness, the end of the first Shabbat, according to this midrash, it was coming and darkness was befalling, kind of slowly coming into the world. And Adam and Eve felt that this is the end. This is the end of the world, um, because there was light in the garden all the time. God gave them a spark of intuition to, to rub two pieces of rock, stone with each other. And that's how they had light. And that's the light that we actually make our bracha over in the Havdalah, right? When we do the Havdalah, when we do the Jewish ritual of separating between the sacred time and the regular time, we do it over the candle, but that candle is also a memory of that first moment of having fire. So fire is this big deal. It's our human way of um, having light in the world. And we say because of that, Borei Me'orei Ha'esh, that God created the light that in the end will be the one that will create fire. But I think it's a beautiful question to ask. Like, God needs fire, God needs that our human small light. And the answer is no, God does not need that light. Yeah, the light is for us. The light is for human beings, so that we have something that always is there, that there will be a ner to me, there will be a candle. I would just like to ask, like, why do you think why do you think we need a candle? Like, why do we need to have a candle that is always lit? Like, where would that where would that take you? That as human beings, we need a candle that is always lit in the sanctuary, in the sacred space. Does anybody just like just intuitive, there's no answer to it. There's many, many answers, but I'm just asking to kind of warm us up. Anybody want to relate to that? Yes, yes.
Well, for me, God Shahina is light, and it there's something about I love the darkness of a sanctuary, and with like a light or a near tamid, there's a presence. There's a For me, it just is a presence that kind of sparks my light that is within me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're saying the light relates to some kind of light inside of you.
Yes.
Beautiful. Anybody else? Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
keep it lit all the time, there's also never a moment of having to kindle the light. So it's keeping the sanctuary as a space where that particular labor doesn't need to be done.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be done from the point of view that if you're looking at the ancient sanctuary, the idea that a certain fire also on the sacrificial altar had to be kept alive all the time, right? You had to make sure that it doesn't go out. It doesn't go out. Somebody has to make sure to be the guardian. We have to be guardians of the light. Yeah, which is an amazing idea, right? You have it in all ancient traditions, right? That you have to keep it alive. Later, when we speak, it says about the mizbeach, about the altar, that it has to have fire on it all the time. It was really read about the altar of our hearts. How do we make sure that the altar of our hearts doesn't, you know, kind of go cold? How do we kindle it anew? Yeah.
Is
Any other? Yeah,
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to follow up and say I would the work of guarding something feels very different from the work of creating something new.
absolutely.
And we have the even that same verb, like if you say somebody Shomer Shabbos, like we're guarding Shabbos. So that idea of guarding the sacred feels like a very different kind of work from like striking a match and starting a new thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Val, I see your hand. But you have to unmute yourself, dear. Um,
We,
Val,
yeah, it's really
okay.
about relationship. And,
Yeah, go on.
before man was created, allegedly, God is out there hanging out by him or herself. And at least within our tradition, we say that it's our job to be in partnership. Well, this is a great way to establish that relationship because it's a constant reminder. And as Evan has pointed out, of course, it's about being part of the work that it takes to keep that relationship going. It doesn't just
Beautiful.
get dropped on you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, by the way, it's a wonderful way of taking something that we all just take for granted in our sanctuaries today. But it's such an incredible idea, to actually be the people who are guarding the fact that it will always stay lit. And what does that mean about the sacred, about Judaism, about sanctuary? Yeah, it's a. Anybody else want to say something? Yes. Brian, just unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I was wondering if it may have a more practical standpoint of the fact that there is always a light that people can come and kindle their own lights to take it home.
Absolutely. Thank you for the practical, because we really need the practical, right? I mean, you have to have something. That's exactly the beginning of this midrash, right? It says, in humanity, we don't create ex nihilo out of nothing, right? In order to have a candle, we have to light it from an existing fire. That's us human beings. We light from an existing lighter. I mean, they're not talking here about igniting. So yeah, you have to have a place where you can go and ignite your own nail to meat, your own lamp. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Sharon. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Sharon.
Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of an aside, I like the collective idea of every synagogue, anywhere you go in the world, will have a ner tamid. So it kind of binds everybody together. And the whole thing about Judaism, all the parashot, anywhere in the world, you're going to be reading the same parasha every week, and you have this same but different ner tamid to bring us all together.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, these are I'm preparing now a class about the building of the tabernacle. It's so amazing, right? The synagogues that we have, emulate in many ways that sacred space, right? We don't offer animals, but we offer our heart and we offer our soul and we offer our singing and we offer our prayers. But like the sanctuary has these elements that have to do with that sacred space and they're shared all over the world. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay.
I'm just gonna add something quickly. I'm trying to see where it is. I'll find it later in the Siddur, but in the Reconstructionist Siddur, maybe some of you remember one of the readings under the line is related to the light piece is about thanks. Does God need our thanks? I think it was Sheila Peltz-Weinberg who says, I think it's a SPW in the Siddur, who says, no, it's not that God needs our thanks, it's that we need the thanks to be able to awaken to awe, to wonder. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to see now in the second midrash a different take on on the same question, why light in the sanctuary? Okay, so let's read Bamidbar Rabbah 15:1. Okay, um, that which the verse said, "For you light my lamp" in Psalms, Israel said before the Blessed Holy One, Master of the universe, you say that we should illuminate before you, but you are the light of the world, and light resides with you, as it is written, and the light rests with him. In Daniel, Unehora Be Shreyet, in Aramaic, in the book of Daniel. But you say, towards the front of the candelabrum, the 7 lamps shall illuminate. That is, for you light my lamp. Again, this is a question, right? Really? Why are we doing this? You are light. You are the source of all the light in the universe. And you say to us, make this little thing, even though it's beautiful and with gold and nice oil lamps. What's the idea? The Blessed Holy One said to them, it is not that I need you, but rather that you shall illuminate for me the way I illuminated for you. Okay, so I'm thinking now of what Daria was saying or what Sheila was saying. Here's a third kind of answer, very, very interesting answer. The Blessed One would lead them and illuminate for them as it is stated, and the Lord was going before them by day in a pillar of cloud and by night in a pillar of fire to illuminate for them. Okay? Lanchotam haderech. Lehair, to give light for them day and night. Okay? To illuminate for them day and night. When the tabernacle stood, the Holy One, blessed be He, called Moses and said to him, illuminate for me, as it is stated, kindle beha'alotecha, the lamps, in order to elevate you. So let's try and understand, what does this midrash mean? That's the fun. When you meet a midrash on the road, you have to ask them, what do you want to say? What are you trying to say to me? First of all, what are you trying to say? But in order to do that, we first have to understand all the pieces of it. So what is the idea here? It's a totally different idea than the other midrash. By the way, midrashim of this kind, and that's why I love them, they are not in the idea that if a person made a midrash about a verse, that verse is caught. You can't make another midrash about it. No, in midrashim that do not have to do with the way we practice the law, the sky's the limit. You can take one verse and riff on it endlessly. I mean, it's open for wherever our hearts or minds take us. But it is important to know that in midrashim, where we are trying to learn a practical law from, the moment there's a decision that this is going to be the verse that is connected to this practice, we can't play with that verse again in a regular way. But we're not talking about midrash halacha, but I think it's very important that we know it, that in one segment of the midrashic world, the verses are specific, and when it comes to thoughts and ideas and beliefs, we can play with one verse wherever we want to go. But I want to ask, yes, Elisa.
Yeah, hi, it's Alyssa.
Hi.
I was just thinking about, I'm struggling with the lines because it's, why would God need us to be lighting the way for God? but then with that last part, like in order to elevate you, so it's kind of similar to what we were talking about before, but it like
Yeah, you're
uh
right.
the the act of um trying to light the way is, inspiring and good for you, regardless of whether others need it. So the metaphor I was thinking was like children, them leading the way is helpful for us, but it's even more helpful for them. So we might not need the children to show us the directions, but by them being able to recite it, that helps us to learn and really to see how they are learning.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
was thinking.
It's really like it's almost an educational kind of interpretation into it, right? Like what happens when you have this kind of story. But absolutely. But let's look at it. It's suggesting something also. I mean, I'm kind of picking up where you left off, but I'm saying it's picking up on a very wonderful idea of a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
I lit the way for you. When we were coming out of Egypt, when we were human dust, when we were, you know, going into the total unknown, I lit the way for you. Okay. You had a ner tamid, you had a light that did not cease. It was a pillar of cloud in the day, and it was a pillar of fire at night. Okay. And now, right, God says, and now when you have a sanctuary, it says, okay, now you can light for me. But the beautiful ending of the Midrash doesn't say, because I really need the light. What would I do with you without your light? It says, it is to elevate you.
Yeah.
It's behalotcha. Okay, it's going to repeat again and again and again in different interpretations that raising the light, igniting, right, lighting the candle isn't because God needs it. It is a way to elevate ourselves. It's to elevate humanity. It's to elevate us. But I think what's beautiful in this midrash is that it starts off by saying, it's also to remember something that's reciprocal. I lit the way for you, and you have a memory of that. And in a way of thank you, right? There's an offering that we light. We light that candle, but we're actually doing it to elevate it. It allows us to be behalotcha, to be elevated. By the way, why does it elevate us? I think it's a good question. This is the fun of Midrash, that you just have to have a conversation with Midrashim. Like, why does the person who wrote this think that it elevates us? I mean,
Well,
anybody
I think
have a,
it's that leadership. I'll let someone else talk, but I think it's like that act of being the leader. But also, if humans have like a divine spark, then we should also have some capacity to lead God, even. I don't know. Maybe that's too
okay.
rebellious. Let me let
No,
someone
no,
else.
I love that. There's a very famous Midrash, by the way. I'll let other people as well respond to this, but there's a very, very beautiful Midrash that God says to Abraham, I showed you the way. I need you now to show me the way. Be a light for me in the world, which is, yeah, it's something about relationship, first of all. I think it's something. Maybe we have to find the language. Anybody else wanna respond to? Yeah, yeah, Miriam Root.
Yeah, Miriam Ruth Hazoheret, the
Hazoheret.
yes.
Hazoheret.
I have this image of um, that we need to that like let's say Shahina is the light for me, but and she said she and I there's this mirroring that goes on that I bring that light to the world. Like she elevates me, she flows through me in order that I bring that light to the world. And boy, do we need those lights and sparks of light in our world. And what we read in here, I love it because there's a reminder that the Israelites did not move until the until the cloud rose up. So we need to rise up too and be that like that
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Definitely, this is the way we start writing Midrashim. You know what everybody's saying here, every single person who spoke, this is the way that if you want to, like, take yourself to another level in preparation for, whatever it is, or for learning more, it's exactly that ability to say, oh, I'm taking this idea and I'm going to formulate it. I'll write it down. I'll make a tapestry of those ideas and the verses. Yeah, might be a great creative idea for this class altogether. So does anybody else want to say something about Behalotcha? But you can see already that the idea here is saying, reading the word Behalotcha when you kindle, not in a practical way, okay? They're not trying to really understand what was the specific order that Aaron got from Moses, it got from God, about how do you light the candelabrum. No, no. It's taking it into the Hebrew and playing with the word behalotcha as something that has to do with us. It has to do with our ability to raise ourselves, okay, to rise. And very important little moment for us in the world where I think we all have to rise. So it's good that we can think about what are the lights that we can kindle. So those were two midrashim. So our first meeting is with two midrashim coming from, say, the 5th century, maybe the 6th century. We're talking about midrashim written already in a world where there is Christianity and there is Judaism, okay? That Islam is not yet even come into the arena, but we're in a world where we're thinking these thoughts, and the thoughts, by the way, as you can see, are theology. They're theological thoughts, meaning it's thoughts about the relationship between humanity and divinity, but they're not placed like in the Greek tradition in a set of ideas, like a tractate of ideas or concepts. But in Midrash, it's always through an interpretive, right? We're reading a verse, and the verse allows us to talk about the relationship between humanity and God, about light, about elevation. That's the way Midrash works. Okay, so we read two Midrashim, and now I would like to jump 1,000 years ahead. Will you allow me to do that? Okay, so here we go. Last week we started reading a piece of Zohar. I didn't really give a framing for it, but I just want to give a short framing. When we're talking about the Zoharic world, the Zoharic literature, the Zoharic moment, what is the Zohar? I'm just going to give, again, the very, very short form. But the Zohar is a creation, a book, a written creation that appears on the Jewish literary horizon at the end of the 13th century. Okay? Not the 5th, not the 6th, not the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th century. And I think I said last time that we also have to remember that it's a diaspora work of genius, and it seems to have been composed in Castile. Okay, Castile in the north of Spain under the rule of the Catholic kings. Yeah, it's a very Christian world. And in that historical moment, which wasn't such a bad moment for the Jews, by the way. It was a kind of a good time. Alfonso X, was a king very interested in mystical lore, esoteric lore. He invited people into his court Jews, Muslims, from all kinds of traditions, to philosophies and mystical philosophies. But what is wonderful is that somewhere there, people that felt, maybe like many of us feel today, people that felt that, Judaism is going to die if we don't do something, right? It's just gonna become obsolete. It's not interesting, or, what I received, or the way I was brought up, or the synagogue I grew up, it's not good enough for me. It's insufficient. Insufficiency is one of the best fuels for creation of innovations in culture, right? There's that strong sense something is insufficient. I mean, thank you, everybody. Thank you, all my ancestors. Thank you for everything that I've received. But I need to be a living link in this, because I need to make sure that I feel that it's alive. So I think that I would say that the Zohar was written by people who felt very strongly that they have to offer their best, most amazing creativity in order to present and ignite and kindle Judaism, so that we can see in it things that will be very, very relevant for us in our present existential and spiritual situations. So I think that's something very amazing. So just remember that we jumped, okay? And we're going to be reading a beautiful piece about what candles are altogether, what lamps are, right? We're talking about oil lamps. And we're reading a piece written by Rabbi Moshe de Leon. Moshe de Leon was a Kabbalist who lived in Guadalajara in Castile in the 13th century. And he's one of the central authors of the Zohar. Okay? We don't know how many people wrote together. Was it like a creative writing class of a group that were working on ancient midrashim and like taking them into a totally new kind of level? Was it a small group? We don't know. We actually don't know. It's very shrouded in mystery. But Moshe de Leon clearly is either the most important editor or most important author of parts of this literature. So I would love us to read this beautiful piece from one of his Hebrew books called Shekel HaKodesh. Okay. So we have a verse in Proverbs that says the human soul is the candle of God. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam. Okay, maybe this is a word that you recognize in Hebrew. Nishmat. Nishmat, neshama, right? Nishmat kol chai, nishmat. So the neshama of a human being is the candle of God, right? Amazing idea. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam. Human souls, they are the candle, right? They are the lamp for divinities. And we're going to read it. Let's read it, and then we'll need time to really think about it. The essence of faith and the root of the holy intention for a human being in this world is to serve his or her creator, to repair his soul, to be enlightened with the light of the living. Le'or be'or ha'chaim. And delve deeply, because the secret of faith and the root of intention is that a person in this world be a foundation and seat upon which may rest the throne on high. The person is the wick, and the mitzvot are the good deeds, and good deeds are the oil. Okay? The person is the wick, and the mitzvot and good deeds are the oil to prepare the wick and to provide the oil on the head of the wick, so that radiant light will shine on her and that she will be illuminated before her creator. And this is what the Master of Secrets said in the book of Kohelet. The Master of Secrets is the King Solomon. May your clothes always be white and no lack of oil on your head, right? Bechol et iyu begadecha levanim. May your clothes always be white, and shemen al roshcha al yichsar, and do not lack oil on your head. But now look at the way mystics read that verse. So that the light of which we spoke will shine upon her, and her candle will not go out by night. And the essence of the mitzvot and good deeds that a person does in this world is to prepare his soul and to repair great and good matters above, and draw forth upon him the abundant light from above. Okay, it's beautiful teaching. It's beautiful teaching. I love teaching it on Chanukah, by the way, because it's a perfect Chanukah teaching, but it's exactly for us in trying to understand what happens there in the 13th century that somebody wants to come and say, wait a second, I want to look at this whole question of candle, kindling, lamp, oil. I want to read into it. I want to allow it to tell me something about the structure of the soul, about my role in the world, about what are we doing here and who are we? And I would say that the beautiful thing that comes out from this whole thing is saying, let us contemplate, let us meditate for a moment on an oil lamp and see that it is the story of our life and our relationship with God in this world. Okay? So, sorry, that was just noise, sorry. So, so I want to, sorry, that was me. Okay. So I want to say, I want to say something pshat, something simple, and then I want us to take a few minutes in Chevruta to talk about this. According to this piece of Moshe de Leon, we are in a relationship that is reciprocal. When we do things in our world, we create things or we change things in the divine realm. That is one thing. And the other thing is that we are walking candles. We are lamps. We are the lamps. We are the lamp, and it is that cultivating our life as a living lamp that creates the connection between us. Okay, we're not talking now about the 8 candles. I mean 6. Sorry, and this. We're not talking about the 6, and we're not talking about the Chanukiah. We're talking now about, first of all, what is a lamp? What is a lamp? So let's just remember the pshat of what Moshe de Leon says, and then we'll take it to ask about our own lives. So Moshe de Leon is saying, look, what are we in this world? We are a wick. And this wick cannot be lit, right? It will not take a flame. It will not allow a flame to be ignited on it if it doesn't have fuel, right? If it doesn't have oil, right? So our being is the wick, and all our deeds in the world are the oil, okay? We're cultivating and creating in our real physical life, in the physical world, in our loving kindness with other people, in the way, okay, that's our oil. And without that oil, our wick can't be, I don't know how you call it, can't be filled with oil, right? You have to moisten it enough that it will be soaked in oil so that when there's a moment that it can be lit, the flame will, right, abide on the wick. And that we should be aware of that in our life, that we're going around creating more and more oil so that our wick is fueled and filled with that oil, so that in certain moments the radiant light will shine on us and illuminate us, and that suddenly it won't just be a wick, but the wick will create a connection with something that is much more ephemeral than the wick, which is the flame itself, right? Which is something that we can't catch, right? The flame of the candle, the flame of the lamp, and by that, Moshe de Leon says, we become a seat for the Kisei HaKavod, for the throne of God. And on that we can place, we are preparing our life to be a seat for divinity to reside on. Now, you can't have these ideas in the 5th century because they don't talk like that. They're not thinking of that. They're not thinking in those idioms. They have great, amazing, different thoughts in Midrash. But to say this statement, to say, we are the wick, the oil is our life, it is upon us, aleinu, to make sure that our wick is. And we have moments where it can light, right? We can be lit. We can be lit, and then we are connected. And therefore, try and forever be in that state, because you never know when that moment is going to come and your flame is going to shine, right? Your flame is going to shine. And I think another thing that's important to say here is that we do all this and we prepare our soul to repair and make things happen in the divine world, which is a very Kabbalistic idea that our world, right, impacts the divine world. We are in a reciprocal relationship. I don't think the sages would have said that in that kind of language in the 4th century or 5th century. So yeah, first of all, Dan, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. The that last part, where the essence of the mitzvot is to prepare his soul and to prepare matters above. To me, it flies against the idea of tikkun olam, that we do this to perfect our world, to repair our world, not to perfect God's world, but for us. and for our world. So I don't know, it just flies in the sense of that we're not doing it for God, we should be doing it for our world. And yes, they're connected, but it seems here that it's more about that world than our world. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, I think you said it in a very, very clear way. I would love to respond to that because I think it's a wonderful moment for us to learn something about, about the world of Jewish mysticism. But I think what they're saying here is that we make changes above, is that in the language of Kabbalah, the role of humanity is to clean out the channels and ducts and ways in which divinity and humanity can connect. Okay, we've clogged up those rivers with junk, okay, of our deeds, of our thoughts, of our greed, of our violence, of our overuse of carbon, of everything. This is Kabbalistic imagery. This is not my imagery. I think it's very beautiful, but we are in a world where the channels, the riverbeds, right, that should be flowing in the connectivity and the relationship between divinity and humanity are polluted, are filthy, are stopped up, are right dammed up. And our role in many ways the role of the Kabbalist is to clean those paths up so that there is abundance, so that the abundance that is always there is no scarcity of abundance, but so that abundance can find its way to the world. So when you're asking it in the language of, so wait, when we think tikkun olam, we're thinking of how do we mitaken our olam, right? By the way, the book that uses tikkun more than any other book in all of the Jewish library is Zohar. Zohar is all about tikkun. But tikkun is not only repairing something that's broken, we'll speak about that later, but the great tikkun here is that we work from our side, and when we work from our side and we see our life as preparing the throne, we are preparing the throne so that the light from above can abide on it. So, of course, it comes back into our world, but it's not presented, and that's why I think it's a very good question that you're asking. It's not presented like God is up there and it's something totally different and it's a realm totally sealed away from us and we're little ants here, crawling on the ground. No, it's a relationship of love and reciprocal movement that's happening between us. I'll take a question from Tiana, but then I would love to go into Chavrutas for 10 minutes.
And,
Yeah.
and Malila, while people are in a chavruta, there have been some comments in the chat of people sharing reflections, so you can also look at that while people are in a chavruta. And
Okay,
if
happily.
you'd like.
Tiana?
Yeah, so I was thinking in this perspective, is God the oxygen that needs to be there? And then also I was thinking, the environment is still part of it. The flame can move because and get affected by the environment around it. And then maybe the tikkun olam is that every candle needs somebody to ignite it and needs some type of impetus to get it started.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All beautiful ideas. All beautiful ideas. So wait, let's take now a break and give everybody time to kind of turn these words of Moshe de Leon into our life in a certain way. Okay, that's what I want to ask. But I want to ask you in Chevruta, we'll do Chevrutas of 3 people. And I think every person here is interesting, so you're just sharing these ideas. But in what way can you relate to the idea that our life is a life of a lamp, that it's this kind of idea of cultivation and towards right? Right? If there, what is, how do we create more oil? How do we make sure to maintain the wick? How do we notice when there's light coming on to when there's a flame that is coming onto this wick? What, like, where does the imagery, and I'm talking here also to all the people that are more visual, okay? I mean, this is a text about cultivation of soul. We could have spoken about it in totally abstract language, but he wants to speak about cultivation of soul, not in an abstract language, but rather in this way. We're going to see it later in another text, but I just want you to, let's take like 12 minutes and just see, yeah, even 10 minutes, just be attentive, listen to the people that are with you in Chevruta, and just relate to this image that Moshe de Leon is offering us. Where do you find it in your world? Okay, are you going to take us, into Chevruta, Josh?
Yeah, I haven't done this probably since COVID, so I think it's just
Oh,
it's gonna be like three or four people in a room, and it's just gonna break everybody up. So I'll send you in momentarily, and
just tell
yeah,
people they have to join.
And I just
yeah,
put the
yeah.
question into the chat so people can remember kind of from the richness.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I see. It's yeah. Okay. So I think Malila, like you're in one of the rooms, but you
Yeah,
can.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So you've all been invited to join. Okay. Hmm. Okay, welcome back.
Okay.
Looks
Thank
like
you.
everyone needs to mute themselves. But
Yeah, yeah. Mute themselves. Okay. First of all, I hope you had a good 10 minutes of just breaking the energy and allowing yourselves to be with other wonderful people here. Um, I think that what absolutely flows directly from this beautiful piece of Moshe de Leon is to look at our new text that I added today. It is not Moshe de Leon. It doesn't have a person, the author on it. It's a teaching of the Zohar. It's the Zohar itself.
you want me to pull that one up from the new files? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Be just a moment.
Wait, but do people have it, or should I share it on this, or can you?
I can drop the PDF into the chat, but I have to just pull it off the calendar. Just give me a
Oh,
minute.
okay, okay.
Just
So
Just be a
you,
moment.
Nefesh Ruach
Oh
Neshama.
yeah, I have it right here, Josh. Let me just put it in.
oh, you have it. Good.
Okay, maybe I think I guess I did send it to people. Yeah, you have it.
Yeah, you have
Okay.
it, people. You have
Oh,
it. You have it. You have
okay,
it.
great.
I have it.
Yeah, we've got it. And Daria just put it in the chat.
Page 4.
Okay. Okay, so I'm bringing this as another level of looking into this question of the lamp. What is a lamp? Who are we as human beings in this world of lamp? And here in the Zoharic, in this Zoharic teaching, um, we are reading it as a way of contemplating um, the structure of the soul. Okay. And this is very important because, in Hebrew, we have the word nefesh. The word nefesh can mean the general psyche or personality or structure of all of the soul. And nefesh can be a certain part of the soul. So what's important is that is for us to know that in medieval Jewish thought, both philosophical and mystical and Kabbalistic, our soul is understood of being made up of 3 or 5 different aspects. Very important in the language of all the types of thinkers of the Jewish Middle Ages. And the three first levels that we speak about that will appear in all of this literature till today are called Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. Okay? Nefesh, Ruach, which is spirit, and Neshama, which is higher soul. it gets very complicated when we read it into all kinds of different traditions that read spirit and soul in different kind of ways, but I think this text will explain itself. Now, it's also very interesting to think not of our personality as composed, say, if we were thinking in a Freudian way, that there's id and there's ego and then there's superego, okay? This is a very, very, very different kind of language to be looking at ourselves. So let me first read it, okay? And then we will have time to, contemplate it a little, and we'll continue next week. So I'm reading. Nefesh, soul, is lower arousal, supporting the body, nourishing it. Okay, this is Danny Matt's beautiful translation into English. And he's saying, what is nefesh? Which part of our kind of soul parts is nefesh? And he says, nefesh supports the body and it nourishes it. The body is fastened, totally connected to this aspect of nefesh. Okay? We are born with nefesh, right? And when we die, the nefesh is our vital aspect of our soul. It's our vitality, okay? It's called nefesh. Afterwards, she, the nefesh, is arrayed, becoming a throne on which settles ruach, spirit. Through the arousal of nefesh fastened to the body, as it is written, until spirit is poured upon us from on high. Once both have been arrayed, both the nefesh and the ruach, they are ready to receive neshama. Neshama. Neshama is the upper aspect of the soul. For ruach becomes a throne for neshama. And this neshama is concealed, supreme, above all, hidden, of all hidden. Consequently, there is throne upon throne, and a throne for the highest above them. When you contemplate the rungs, you discover the mystery of wisdom. All is wisdom in this way of grasping the concealed. Come and see nefesh, lower arousal, right, or vitality, cleaving to the body like the light of a candle. The lower light, which is black, cleaves to the wick, never parting from it, arrayed by it alone. Once arrayed by the wick, it becomes a throne for a white light settling upon the black or indigo or dark light. And when both are arrayed, the white light becomes a throne for a concealed light, invisible, unknowable, settling upon the white light. Then the light is perfect, or then the candle is perfect. So I wanted to bring this beautiful Zohar. It's a beautiful piece of Zohar. But to allow us to go into another level of reading into Beha'alotcha, right? We're reading about the candle that we have to prepare. We're preparing the candle. And in this text of Zohar and also in other places, they really suggest a method of meditation or a mode, a practice of contemplating the flame of an oil lamp. Okay, just looking at it, I'm going back to the Ner Tamid to remind us of the structure of our own soul. Okay, so I wanna just look at the imagery of it. Right, we are the wick, and the nefesh is the light that surrounds the wick. If you look at any flame, right, the part, or you can do this after we finish our class, you can light a candle. There is always the light that is closest to the wick, right? And the light closest to the wick is dark. It's dark blue, or it has all kinds of colors, but it's dark. And the Zohar says that is the nefesh. That is the vital soul. Okay, she nurtures our life as wicks, and we nurture her. Okay, we are always together. And by the way, she is Shekhinah. She is the beloved Shekhinah because she never leaves. She doesn't disappear. She's always the immanent. She's connected to the wick. She's connected to our life. And we are born with nefesh. We are born with her, but we are not born with ruach and neshama. It's a very, very interesting idea that we can live our lives with one aspect of soul unless we decide that we want to cultivate others, but we don't have to. Okay? It's part of a personal decision. What do we want to do in this life? But I think what the Zohar is saying here is if we work well, right, with our nefesh, if we sustain her, if we're interested in her, right, in the nefesh becomes a throne. It becomes a vessel for something that can now pour into it, okay, or abide on it. These are different images, we can go in different directions. But the Zohar is saying that ruach, spirit, is something that only becomes part of us if we make place for it, if we make intentionality for it, if we're interested in it. Yeah. And if we do, it comes into our life and resides in us. By the way, all these levels, nefesh and ruach and neshama, there's also two more, chaya and yechida. We're not going to talk about them, but they also relate to different sfirot, to different aspects, active aspects of divinity in the world. But they're saying here, if we cultivate our lamp and we cultivate nefesh, ruach can come and reside in our nefesh. And if we cultivate our ruach, right, the spirit, we can live a life where neshama, which is a higher aspect of soul, it's a higher, more divine aspect of the soul, comes to live within us. It comes to live within us. I think the Zohar is saying it very clearly because we've done the work. If we don't do the work, it doesn't happen. But if we do the work, it happens. And it's a very interesting way of looking at the path of our life, right? When have we noticed nefesh and given nefesh, sustained our nefesh, right? When have we done that? And in what way have we found ways to cultivate place for spirit? Unless we haven't yet, and maybe we're working on it now. I mean, we can do this in any stage of our life, but it's a very fascinating way of imagining the light, the lamp, and the flame as a living practice throughout our life, right? We can do our good deeds and create the oil. We have to take care of the body of our wick and the way we are. But we are there and also to allow, nefesh to be arrayed, to be beautiful, to be full. And that nefesh can make space for ruach. And that we have that we're not just what you see is what you get and what we're born with is what we are. No, our life is described as a path that can become more and more illuminated, right? More and more illuminated. And the image here is that if you contemplate the candle, and it is so true, we see that dark, beautiful flame around the wick, and then there's a white light, right? There's a white light, a bright light in the flame. And if we look closely at any flame, we'll see that there's also another level of light, which is just the aura around the flame. Yeah, I mean, do try this at home, right? This is one of the things that try this. But when we look closely at a flame, we see that there's a very subtle light that is around every flame. And for them, it was a symbol of the life of the soul. Okay, this is the life of the soul. Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam, right? The soul of a human being is the candle or the lamp of the divine, right? They're reading into this. So I want to open this up till the end of our gathering in this week. But to open that up as an image and as an idea of a process that allows our life to create different parts of us as vessels for more light, different aspects of soul. Like, where does this, let's just open it up, right? This is our tradition. It's giving us these ideas. Where do they resonate or where do they, like, no, this doesn't, where does it make music? Let's just allow yourselves to talk. It's just us. Just remember to unmute yourself when you want to talk.
Point of clarification, the Shekhinah is in the lowest level,
Yeah,
the Nefesh.
yeah,
So higher levels are more spiritual, I guess, rather
right.
than and I guess you do what sages recommend, just pray a lot and meditate and is that how you get there? How do you get there?
Well,
Question.
first of all, we'll have to figure out how we get there. But I think that, yes, they once say that Shekhinah, the nefesh aspect of our soul, she's always with us. She's not conditional. That's why there's so much love for Shekhinah in this tradition, because she's with us, in our sorrows and in our joys and in our birth and in our death. She's with the body. She's immanent. And the other aspects are more transcendent. And the Zohar loves them as well. Our souls, our nefesh is made to soar. We have that capacity. We have that built in to be able to receive other aspects. I think that what you're asking, Emily, about what are the practices that we can live in our life to make room for another aspect of soul, right? To make room for ruach, to make room for neshama to come in. That's a question of each one of us to ask ourselves. They're not saying. They're presenting us with this image that our life is the cultivation of these vessels or thrones. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's hear some other people. Yes, Miriam Ruth Hazoheret.
I I'm just like feeling that sense of nefesh, and that it feels like if you have a pilot light, that it's, yeah, it's like a pilot light for the light of the that is in us. And it's really like the it's like right here I can feel it in my body. And it really roots the flow of the divine in me, in this world.
It's-
And and the pilot light is essential, and she is essential for, if we don't have a gas stove, but I've been, with the gas stove, you hear the click, like the click click
yeah.
click click click. That's We need that click 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 to get the light and of the wick starting, and sometimes it's like,
Thank you.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really want to encourage people who haven't, like Evan's going next. And if you have it, if you feel shy because you're even like, I don't really connect to this or something, like that's okay also. This Malila's invitation is it's just us, just to share what is this
We're
story, what
just
is stirring for
trying.
you,
We're just
right? It does not
just
have to
gonna
make
be,
sense and resonate yet.
yeah, 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 friends. We're just here to kind of just allow this to come in and taste it and see what it's like. Yes, Evan.
So I really want to share about what Stacy brought up in our chavruta, because I was saying, okay, I get like we're the wick, then our deeds are the oil around us, but the where does the flame come in? Like I just can't quite get my head around that. And she brought up, well, we get lit from other flames. Like we don't bring fire ex nihilo. Like we as we as individual wicks need another wick that's already lit to come and light us. And I thought that was really beautiful, and it also reminded me of the fact that, like, as Jews, we don't practice in isolation, we don't study by ourselves, we don't pray by ourselves. Like we do things together because we need those other candles. We need to get our flames from other candles. It's not just the divine spark coming out of nowhere and that idea of the fire coming from community was really, I thought, beautiful, and wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, thank both of you. I mean, Stacy and you. Thank you. Any other person wanna just, yes, Brian.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Not very well. I can't hear you
Oh,
very well.
turn this off. Let's see if it goes better. There it goes. Now you can hear me better?
Yeah, yeah, much better. Thank you.
Yeah. I like what both Stacy and Evan said, because I think uh, the realizations that I've had in my life have felt like some sort of freeing of a chain, and I can feel my soul soar. It's
Mm.
like I feel elevated, to use the word. I feel elevated, and I feel like something has freed me that has been holding me in bondage. It feels like a sense of liberty.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
I don't have it often, but when I do, it's very noticeable. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Wait, maybe I think what I'll do is I'd like you to think about this for our next time when we get together. This idea of the candle, of our inner life as a candle, because it's really a lot about the Be'alotcha when we raise that. So I want you to turn to the next text, which I'm just going to read. It's just so beautiful. It has been put into music in Israel. I think it's really waiting to be put into music in English as well. Maybe it needs also a better translation, but this is a piece attributed to the Rav Kook. I haven't found the exact place where the Rav Kook says this, but it's very Rav Kook, who's the 20th century mystic, the great first, איך אומרים, רב הראשי, the
Chief Rabbi.
the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv and of the people that lived here in Palestine in the beginning of the 20th century. And I just want us to listen to this as a poem. That's why I put it in this way. I'm going to read the first two lines in Hebrew. They're so beautiful. צריך שכל איש ידע ויבין שבתוך תוכו דולק נר. Every person must know and understand that deep within them a lamp is burning. ואין נרו שלו כנר חברו. And that their lamp is unlike the candle, right? Or their candle is unlike the candle of any other. ואין איש שאין לו נר. And that there is no one who does not have a lamp. וצריך שכל איש ידע ויבין שעליו לעמול ולגלות את אור הנר ברבים. And every person must know and understand that it is upon them to labor, to reveal, or to kindle it into to reveal the light of their lamp to others. ולהדליקו לאבוקה גדולה, and to kindle it into a great torch, ולהאיר את העולם כולו, and to illuminate the entire world. So beautiful, so beautiful, so and no wonder that it was immediately put to music, because it's calling to be put to music. But it's telling us we all have it. It's our work to discover it. It's our work to tend to it. It's our work to reveal something that might be concealed in us as a light. And that it's part of creating the big torch that can light the world. And it's just so Rav Kook to say, no, your light is different from, you have your own unique light. Like, we have to discover that. And so I wanted to bring the Rav Kook as a, he's just speaking of it in very simple language. The Zohar is very complex, right? It's creating this system of layers and cultivation, and the Rav Kook is just saying, you have it, find it, light it, bring it out. So I want that to be the gift for the ending of this session. We're going to meet for our last session next week, just before I fly to America. And I think that whoever needs to leave now is invited to leave. And if people wanted to ask any questions, I'm here, happy to converse and listen.
Thank you so much, Malila. Well, it looks like Rabbi Josh raised his hand, but I've got the floor.
What is that?
Said Rabbi Josh raised his hand, but I've got the floor still. So I jumped in. So would you say a little something about the word la'amol? The rest of the Hebrew I know here, but
la'amol is to work hard. Amal. Amal is hard work. It's our job, la'amol, it's not going to happen just by itself. We have to work on it, la'amol. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
It's open. Just talk. We're after time now.
I was going to jump in. Malila, could you say a little bit about how the Zohar itself understands like the ruach and the neshama of like, what are the qualities, you know or
Yeah,
what is it
yeah.
like? We have the kind of image, right, with the nefesh level of that it's, the body or the etheric, close to the connected with the body vitality. But what do they say is characterizes the other levels experientially or imagery wise or
Well, I think in a short form, because this is such a big part of what the mystics were always interested in, is trying to understand in more and more nuanced ways the structure of our souls, like to understand, they wanted to cultivate that. So I think what they're speaking when they speak about ruach, right? They're speaking of the Sfira of Tiferet. They're speaking about divinity, that it's an aspect that can access a certain level of transcendence. It can soar beyond the physical experience of our world. It can soar into the something that's timeless. And I think that when they speak of neshama, right, they're speaking of the higher sfirot. If we're speaking in the Kabbalistic tree of divine attributes or aspect, but I think they're relating to something that's more connected to oneness. It's something that isn't about differentiation. You can't go in there and dissect the different parts of the very subtle aura of light. You can't go there and you can't catch it. But it is a way that we can access oneness of divinity. And that's something that they love as well. They love this world, they love the immanent, they love the colorful, they love Shekhinah's world, they love it. And they love the world of Kadosh Baruch Hu, though, the world of structure, of thought, of ideas, you know, they love that of Torah. And there's something that's beyond that. And the neshama, our neshama can relate, can have intimations, can have droplets of that dew of the one. Yeah. I mean, that's a short version.
oh, thank you. Dan, go bevakasha.
Yeah, in a similar vein, how do or does the model that you have for the five levels, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida, does that map onto the four worlds model of Asiya and Berea and Yetzira and Atzilut?
Well, the worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, I mean, this kind of four-part structure, we start having it in the strata of the late Zohar. Okay, to Tikkunei Zohar, we have this idea that it's not only that we have the divine life in 10 aspects, but we also have it in 10 manifestations of worlds. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. We're not going to get into all of them. So they would say that you have these parts of soul in each one of them. You have in each one of them, you have aspects of this. I think that what is very fascinating is that it creates kind of to say, it's like tzitzit, to say, look at a flame. And remember, this is ours to do. This is part of what we can cultivate, I think, is something that, because you could come and say, like Maimonides would say, there's very few people that have that kind of intellect that can ignite and connect to the divine intellect. I mean, but here I think it's inviting us to say, no, that we have the predisposition. and we can cultivate that. Yeah.
Carol, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Okay.
Okay. Well, in
I
that case, yes.
I do have one other question. I'm going to Spain actually in 2 months, and I'm going to go to the town where the Zohar was written. So I'm excited about that. But my question is, do you happen to know if this was popular knowledge or if this was really esoteric knowledge only to the Jewish community at the time when it was written?
At the time that it was written, it was totally part of the Jewish community.
Right. Okay.
But
Yeah.
very important to know that ideas, spiritual ideas in this vein, which we generally term Neoplatonic kind of mystical philosophy, existed in Europe, existed in Andalus, in Muslim Spain. Traditions went through. So these ideas of the chain of being, of, connecting to all these aspects, seeing them as interconnected, is also existed in other traditions in that time. But the way it is connected in Kabbalah to Torah and to the holidays and to Shabbat, that's what's so fascinating, is that it's an organic read of this whole thing in their Jewish lens of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, my friends, I think I'm off. Oh, Rega, Deborah, חבר'ה, I'm here, happy to listen to questions. Yes, Deborah.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I have big questions remaining about what it means to do the work, and anything more that you can share with us about that when we have the chance. I would be very thirsty to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the truth, Deborah. I don't want to do that because I think it's going to be really interesting for us to think about what are the ways of cultivating. It is very clear in their world that it has to do with a life of contemplation. It has to do with a connection of deeds with intention, okay, it has to do with awakening. Basically, it has to do with awakening consciousness allows these different levels to become something that's real for us. Because if it's not real for us, it just stays outside of our zone, right? It's not. So I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe we should remember that for next Sunday to think what are the practices and pathways that we have found in our life to expand the domain of our soul parts. Like, for them, it's very clear that it has to do with cleaving, with connecting, with it can be also with devotion. It can be about their Torah learning. It can be about their experiences. They speak about it a lot. But I think it goes part and parcel with all this piece of Moshe de Leon. It's about what we do in the world, in the horizontal, in the oil level, and then how do we use the wick to make a very kind of cultivate that beautiful flame. So, my friends,
And Deborah's an IMS teacher, by the way, IMS meditation teacher. So she's got that background.
that's beautiful. So, my friends, I'm off, and I'll see you next week. And Chodesh Tov, everybody.